Hey everyone, Florida Man here. It seems like the world's kind of going crazy right now. I know a lot of people are very uncertain about what's going to be happening here in Ukraine, what's going to be happening in the US. A lot of people have a lot of anxiety, nihilism, existential dread about our world unraveling as we know it. So today's video, I'm going to show you guys how I make a drone that's going to ruin someone's day just going shopping online and show you the price points for it. Let's see how it works. So basically how this video is going to work, I finished with this drone behind me, the big guy. That's going out to Mac, and I'm going to send him 2 other drones. These are going to be your basic drones. And I'm going to show you guys the process from start to finish, how I make a drone. One of the easier guys. Show you the cost, the parts, and just show you the workflow, because this is how it works for a lot of people in Ukraine. I think that's kind of the interesting part, how you can kind of just go on like Ukraine's version of Amazon and just buy stuff. So first off, what we need to know is what is our drone going to do, and from there we work out what parts we need and what it's going to do. So Mac needs a drone that can fly at night, and it needs to be a big one that can carry a big load. And I'm going to use the term borscht container. You could probably imagine what the borscht container is, and it needs to be a big borscht container. All right, we're making a drone that can carry a big thing of borscht. So if you're going to do that, basically, how do we work from there? And then I'll show you how I go through the process and what websites I use to order these things in Ukraine. It's pretty cool. All right, so let's get started. All right, so first off, the primary website I always use is going to be Prom. Prom is like the go-to website if you're looking for parts. It's the Ukraine version of Amazon. You can think of it that way. It's a place for vendors to put up their stuff, and you can go on there. It's not just drone stuff. It could be whatever. You could see here, lots of different things, lots of different parts. Certain times it works better. I use Rosetka, which is another Ukrainian website that kind of operates. Rosetka is more of like an actual facility. They have facilities where you can go to pick items up. And actually items from here are going to be delivered to Rosetka facilities. But basically, Prom is your go-to place. It's a wonderful site. And you can see here already, it knows my history. It knows what I like to look for. And so it makes these suggestions for me. And also for this video, I want to make clear, this video is not, I'm not going to show you how to min-max building drones in Ukraine. I'm not going to show you the most economically efficient or build the most efficient drones possible. That is a field I am not capable of giving you guys info on. I'm an amateur. I'm an amateur drone builder. I know how to make a drone fly. I don't know how to get the best bang for buck out of your drone. You're going to have to follow people like Joshua Bardwell for that, okay? But this is to show you the workflow that I go through in Ukraine. Obviously, I want to improve. I want to learn new stuff. And I want to show you a couple things, the things I look for, and things I probably should start looking to improve upon, okay? So, yep, here's just the website. You see here, I already bought the items. I already had the list of what items I bought. So I'm going to go through that list with you guys and show you what I got, okay? So unfortunately, I have really slow internet right here. So this is one of the reasons. I was going to do like the whole video through it with you guys, but it's not going to work too well. So let's look at the first item on here I have. All right, so this is the camera model. It's good for you to learn Ukrainian if you're in Ukraine buying these sorts of items. Sometimes there is English. Is there English on this page? I wonder if there is. I imagine there might be English. Some websites do have English. A lot of them do not. So you're going to need to use Google Translate a lot, and you're going to learn a lot of, vocabulary for Ukraine. So obviously knowing Cyrillic is nice. So right here we have analofa, which means analog. Camera, the teplovizorum. So that's, you can kind of hear that. It's something teplo, so heat. That's teplo is heat. So there you go. It's a heat camera. This is our heat camera. And dla is for drona, FPV, Foxier, thermal, and sometimes you'll see some English words. So thermal camera. Oh, look, we have thermal camera right there too. Thermal camera, televisor support. So right here we have a thermal camera. The price point is $1,300 1300 or 13,000, yeah, 13,200 hryvnia. Basically, I always, my price mark, I go by 400 hryvnia is $10, and then so 4,000 hryvnia is then $100. So this is a bit more than $300 right now. It's like 325. So for $325, we can get a thermal camera, analog thermal camera. And the big thing to understand for those people that aren't up to date with Ukraine, the most simplest thing pretty much is you want to go analog. You don't go digital. Primarily because digital has like, think of it as like a binary on and off. So basically the signal sends or it doesn't send. And if it doesn't send your camera, the goggles you're watching through, you'll get nothing. You'll get nothing. You'll get like a pretty much saying, you know, lost connection. With an analog, basically the simplistic version of it is that you're just going to get like a bandwidth of how like clear that signal is. And so even if it's like really shitty, it's still going to send something, so you can still see something. So you're not going to get a complete blank screen, which is going to, you know, probably ruin your flight. Now, this guy is super cheap. Honestly, this is super cheap. If you ask someone in the States, how much do you think it costs to build like a night vision drone stuff? And it's like, oh, it's probably in the thousands. Well, there you go. Here's the price right here. I bought this for a little cheaper. The price has gone up. This is the cheapest though. I'm going to be honest. This is not a good one. This is not a good one. It has a very short range. You should not use this for any sort of like observation, for anything where you need to zoom far away. This guy, I'll show you guys a little video. You see right here, right now. That's what it looks like for me. That's on this guy behind me. I did want to switch him out for something better because this guy should hopefully last longer than one run. But if you're looking at making a drone that's only going to deliver borscht one time, one way, price points are important. And right here is a really cheap price point. So this allows you to operate at night very economically. There is a drawback though. There is definitely a drawback. The camera stutters. There is a camera stutter on this guy. I've noticed it. Basically, every 9 seconds or so, you'll get a little like the frame rate slows down. The frame rate will slow down a bit and it stalls a bit. It could be offsetting if you're not prepared for it. So that could be an issue, obviously, if you're flying very dynamically. If you're flying in a straight line at a certain point and you know where the target is, you know, you just need to line up where you're going to go. It shouldn't be that big of an issue. This is somewhere where I do need to start researching more into better ones. There's a lot of new stuff coming out. There's not just thermal, but there's like kind of like I forgot the term they use, but there's a better camera that you can get now in the US. I've watched Joshua Bardwell's channel. It's really cool. It's just like very cool. It's like cat night vision almost. It's not like so binary black and white and all that sort of stuff. It's kind of like it just allows you to illuminate the night. That could be another option, but it is very nice to see directly clearly where the heat's coming from. So yeah, this guy's nice. He's cheap. That's the biggest point. It's cheap. If you're going up from this, it's probably you're adding an extra $300 to $200. So if you put that to scale, that can add up. So this is honestly probably going to be one of the most expensive parts on my drone right now. Okay, so we have the camera. Next on my list here, I have the antenna. So this is what's going to send the signal out to my receiver on my headset over there. Actually, no, I'm completely mistaken. Very sorry. Very bad. Got those mixed up. That's not that. Next on here, we got this guy, which is a dual antenna system. This is this is my controller. This is for my radio controller, my RC controller, sending a signal to my drone. This is sending a signal to my drone to give it information that it can interpret and then send that to the flight control system. And then that does all the operations. So this is, you know, all the small movements you make on your controller. This antenna picks it up and it sends that information to the flight controller. And what I did today, I bought a dual one. So this is a dual, you see right here, dual RX premium much happy model. Happy model's a go-to. There's a model, ELRS. There we go. Thank you, words. ELRS model. You see right here, it's for $1,500. So apply the same logic. 2,000. I just use these like price points to kind of work with it. 2,000 is going to be $50. So 1,500. So you're looking at probably, is that $30 or so? 30, a little more like 33 bucks. So for 33 bucks, we are getting a dual antenna. So obviously dual meaning two. There's going to be two antennas that we can stick on this guy, and he can send these signals out. Why? Why do I want dual instead of singular? I put dual on that guy. Basically, it can help with preventing your drone getting jammed. The rule of thumb from what I've heard from people is that the more antennas, the better. The more antennas you can slap on that sucker, the better. And I've seen guys, they made one, it was really cool. So basically, since you have two, what you could do is that one could hook up to an antenna, right? The other one could hook up to another dual system. And that dual one has an antenna out. And that dual one can stick out to another two, which then you can put two antennas, so you can have 4 antennas. And you just replicate that as the big issue is power, supplementing that power. I think they had some work hack to get around the power supply system. I don't know. I am not the electronic guy. All right, that's still magic wizardry stuff to me. I don't know that stuff yet. That's something I would like to learn more about. But you can make it so this guy's going to receive a signal very well. It'd be a lot harder for someone to block it. There's other things going on there too, but of course this is just one way to help out. But just setting dual, so basically what this is also going to help out with is how radio signals work. Basically the antennas need to be in parallel, in line, and so it's a whole science. I'm learning more about it right now. But usually the more antennas, the better, because when drones are moving, that antenna, so basically the antennas need to be like this. But obviously, you know, the drone's doing all this sort of stuff, right? He's flying all over the place like this. And so when the antenna's like this, the signal gets weaker and weaker. So the idea is that you have 2 antennas. You put them on like this, all right? So usually what they're going to be like a 90 degree. And so when it's flying and one signal gets weaker, the other one gets, so if that's the antenna, if one's getting off, like, you know, it's here, and then it goes like, but if you got the 90 degree, I wish I had 3 hands here. The other one is going to be more parallel with it, so it's going to pick up that signal, and you're going to get a stronger signal. So it's one way to prevent you from losing a signal from terrain and other items. And so it's just a good investment, honestly. So for $35, and I think a single one, I didn't have it up here. I think it's around $10. I think it's around $10 for a single ELRS, and for a dual ELRS, you're paying for twice it plus a little more. But look, this is a $35, and so it's a $25 investment. You're putting a $25 investment to increase your probability of success. Like, I don't know what the percentage is, but even then, if it's by 10%, if it's 20%, of course, you know, $20 to improve your percentage odds of a successful run, delivering your borscht, I take it. Right, so dual ELRS, that's what I kind of go to. But obviously, if you're really can mass lots of drones, you know, small 7-inchers, I wouldn't. But anything that's going to be carrying something, you want to make sure it reaches its where it needs to deliver the borscht. Yeah, make the investment. All right, so yeah, dual ELRS system here. So that's around $30. All right, what else do we got on here? Motors. All right, motors. This is somewhere I did not study, you know, what is it? Aeronautics, engineering, nothing like this. Physics. Physics is also kind of wizardry to me. I have a basic concept that, you know, there's gravity, items fall, there's thrust, you know, object in motion remains in motion. I understand certain these things, but a lot of other stuff is beyond me. There are some ideas and numbers. There are numbers you do need to know when it comes to drones, have a basic understanding of them. So basically, drones, when it comes to motors are like the main one of the main factors in the effectiveness of what your drone's going to do. Motors are the significant force, because basically drones are not aerodynamic at all. There's nothing aerodynamic about a drone. They are bricks. They are literal bricks flying in the sky. How do you get a brick to fly in the sky? It's a little wizardry still to me, but basically it's a lot of thrust. It's a lot of thrust that the propellers are propelling with the air that's causing it to go up, and you need really powerful motors, especially if you're carrying a bigger payload. So right here I have a complex. So this is a set of four set of motors that I'm going to put on my 10-inch. 4 sheets. There's Stück S, or that's an S. Think of S. ST, that means quantity number, so 4 Stück. So 4 Stück, there's 4 of them. So good. That's a full set. We're making a quadcopter, so it's going to have four motors. There we go. We got the whole set. The price point yet again. So that is under. Oh my gosh, that's so cheap. That is $65. $65, around $65. So for $65, we're getting the motors. And I'll show you guys a couple things about this. So the numbers here. These are the numbers you want to pay attention to. The first set of numbers, that's the dimension, the size of the actual item. So if you see here, let me see if I can find the... Ah, man, this is where I start to suck. I understand. I cannot say in detail the exact thing right now, how it works, but 3115 is the size of the motor. I can't remember if 31 is the height and 15 is the width, the exact measurements and how that works, but basically if you see a bigger number there, that means it's a bigger motor you're getting. And down here, 900 kV, that's the rotations. Rotations per minute. Per minute, I hope. It's number of rotations. Like I said, I haven't done my research beforehand, guys. Sorry, I'm a little rusty here. So yes, basically here we go. We get the schematics of the drone. People that like math and numbers, they can look at all this stuff. This is the really cool stuff. Operati, that means how, like, the thrust that you're applying to it. So if you're on your controller stick and you go boom, and you give it a kick and it goes boom, that's you operating at 100% thrust. That's the ampage. Not ampage, voltage. Strum. What is strum? I guess strum is ampage. Traha, that is the actual, like, thrust. The thrust you're getting out of it. These are sort of things. Look, if I'm not the math guy, all right. All I know, bigger numbers usually works better. Bigger load you can carry, and so that's the idea. It needs to be able to produce enough thrust. So general idea: if you're buying a 10-inch drone, you're going to look for something at 900 kV, and it's somewhere in the 310 number. Okay, that's what you're looking for. If you're buying any sort of drone that's going to carry a big container of borscht, all right. More numbers and stuff, details, they say. You'll find this pretty much on any page. You'll find all the information, like this sort of stuff. All right, so next guy. The frame. All right, of course, the frame. You gotta start with the frame. Generally, also, if my workflow, if I was like building a new drone, how I go about buying everything to make sure I don't forget something is I start with the frame. I start with the frame and I work my way in. I would go like through the same process of me building the drone itself. The first part I'm going to need to buy is the frame. So you need to know what frame you're going to use. So this one's a pretty common one. It's a Mark IV V2 10-inch. Don't ask me what's the difference between the V1, V2, if there's a V3 out. That's not my expertise, guys. This is just the Mark IV, I call it. It's the preferred one. I've heard a lot of people say they prefer this over the other ones. I like this guy. It works well. It is a puzzle. When I build this guy, you'll see it's a puzzle. I remember when I first built my first drone and you get all that, like, just carbon fiber bits. It took me about an hour to figure out how to assemble it. And there's probably a very good chance you're not going to assemble it correctly the first time. But yeah, this is your common one. This is a very common drone you're going to get. You see here, nice bit. It comes with little camera bits, comes with all the screws, comes with a little strap bit for the battery. Always nice. Yep, that's it, all broken down. All the screws and stuff. Nice little side angle. That's where we're going to put the ESC and FC, the engine system control, and then the flight control. All right. And you see the price point, look at that. So that is what, 25 bucks, around 25 bucks. So 25 bucks for the frame. Almost done. Now, can you guess what we need next? So we got the antenna, we got the camera, we got the frame, we got the motors. We need the brains. We need the brains. Let's see if the brains is next up on here. Let's see. Yes, it is. All right. So the flight control and ESC. I'm just going to call it FC and ESC. FC stands for flight control. That is basically the brains of the drone. That's where all the information goes to, and it computes all that information and sends it out to all the other parts. That's just the go-to. And basically, the go-to, there are better ones. I would like to show you guys the other ones. The problem is I'm not going to use it for this one because I feel I feel embarrassed. A little side story. So basically, there's a lot of Ukrainian parts. I think this would be a good other video. There's a good Ukrainian drone YouTuber. He showed like he built a drone basically all from Ukraine parts. There are Ukrainian FCs and ESCs now. If I was buying in scale, I would not buy a SpeedyBee. SpeedyBee though, SpeedyBee F405, that is your go-to standard issue base of the line guy. It's you know, it is super cheap. It's super versatile. That's what I got in that guy right now. I have a SpeedyBee in that guy. It's a good price point. It's good. It's hard to compete against it. If it has everything it needs your drone to do at a good price point, you don't need to get other fancy stuff. It definitely doesn't need, you know, extra GPS, servos. You can put servos on a SpeedyBee, but most of the time, most people don't need servos. And actually, that's the reason why I put it. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of different stuff going on. But SpeedyBees are great. All right, SpeedyBees, they're just good. They're good price point. You get everything you need, and they're in abundance. You never run out of them. All right. So the top bit here, if you see in this picture, that is the flight controller. So over here, you see here, all these little dots. That's where you're going to do all the soldering. So up here's the camera. Here is for additional parts, motors. Down here we have for the antenna, the VTX. What else? Other bits, there's a bunch of other bits. You can modify this guy a lot. It's really fascinating. Like if I had a kid and, you know, the choices for Christmas was to buy him like a PS4 or PS5 now, or, you know, I would buy him a soldering kit, get some cool stuff like this, and show him how magical, you know, the real world is with all the stuff you can actually do and skills you can learn. It's amazing. I wish I learned how to solder and do this sort of stuff when I was younger, because it is like a whole world opening of like possibilities. Because beforehand, I think for a lot of viewers, it's just magic. That's how I like to refer to it. It's just magic. You don't understand it. It just does its thing. And you have wizards who do understand it, and, you know, wizards can charge whatever the hell they want because they're a wizard. You don't know. It's magic. You need a wizard to do magic, right? So yeah, learning how all this stuff works, this is great. So yeah, the FC, that's the top bit. Really cool stuff. It's really simple. And then underneath this guy, that is the ESC. And if I'm correct, it's engine system control. E might be something else, but I'm pretty sure it's definitely system control. So basically that controls the motor. So this guy will send information to this guy. And you see all these big bits here, all these big bits, those goes out to the motor. So we have 4 right here. So that goes out to all those motors, and that signals to them about how much thrust to apply, all that sort of information. The number of calculations going on is absurd. It's quite wild. And then that's where we put the battery. We connect the battery right there. Okay. So yeah, for what did I say? That's around 60 bucks. Yeah, it's 60 bucks. A little high. The price has been going up. It used to be around 40. Sometimes you get a steal for 30. But I'm just making 2 of these guys, so I'm okay with just buying. See here, down here, you see, well, it's the same price, bro. It says you can get 10 for the same price. And that's, I guess there is something interesting to say about all this. If I go to like this guy, if I scroll down, I bet, let's see if my computer can refresh and actually show stuff. Sorry, guys, this guy's not the best. Here we go. So let's see here. I bet I can find other. So you see here other people. I think that's the same seller. That's the same seller. If I typed in SpeedyBee though, let me just type in SpeedyBee real quick. You want to work? There we go. SpeedyBee. Do. All right, cool. You see, we have multiple people here selling SpeedyBees. Multiple people selling SpeedyBees. And also, you can find this stuff on Alexi. Alexi will have people selling this stuff too. I don't prefer it because, you know, you have to communicate with people via Ukrainian text. I just don't feel that comfortable with it. I'd rather just buy it at a shop, know it's a shop. But you can usually might get better price points. But the point is, it's competition. That's what I want to get at. It's almost like a liaison free market competition. You're not going to get away with people trying to scam you. They might try to scam you with super cheap ones. They might have got like a bad batch, and then so they might try to lowball the number just to get them off their hands. But pretty much, it's going to be competitive. You're not going to get swindled majorly out of this sort of stuff. This forces people to be competitive with their prices, which is really fascinating to see like firsthand. Just like this sort of market developed where they're just like, all right, you know, we got it this cheap for China. How much money can we make, you know, arguably over here? So yeah, it's fascinating. All right, so we got the brains, we got the flight, or we got the ESC. Last bit, I think we still have one last bit. The VTX, and there's the propellers still. I gotta get the propellers. I haven't ordered the propellers yet. I'm still not sure what propellers I want. The VTX. So right here we have the VTX. This is basically, I'm going off the judge or guidance of others. I asked people, hey, what's a good VTX? What's a good VTX? And what is a VTX, first off? It's a video transmitter something, I think. I don't know what the X stands for. But basically, so obviously you have two antennas on a drone, primarily. Two sets of antennas, let's say that. You have one, the radio controller sending signals to the drone, which tells it what to do. But then, of course, that drone needs to send information back to the receiver to see what that drone is doing, right? It's not a one-way communication. We need a two-way communication. So there's going to be two antennas always, right? So the VTX is communicating back to the operator. So a VTX primarily, its job is to, so the flight control, if you're into like graphics, you know, computer science, this sort of stuff, obviously that little guy taking information from a camera and then computing it on its own little graphics, you know, its own little thing, those are little chips. That's a bit too much work for it. So basically it offloads that work. It offloads that work to the VTX. So the flight control receives data from the camera. It doesn't really process that data. It just sends that data to the VTX. And the VTX has its own little processor, its own little, you know, program, which it goes through all that data and then it shoots it out. And then it receives it from it shoots it out as a radio signal, which then could be picked up by the user's antennas on whatever system they have to receive those signals. So this guy, it's going to be cheap. It has like its own little graphics card, if you want to kind of think of it like that way. I don't know how accurate that is, but these guys, they do some processing. All right, let's say that they do some processing. So from guidance of others, I've heard that this guy is a good one to go with, economically, price-wise, and I think the price has gone down. Jeez. Because I bought it when it was close to the $100, but if we see here, it's a bit over $50 right now. So a bit over $50, we are getting the bit that's going to send information back to my goggles, which will then, you know, transmit that to my oculars, and then my oculars will see what's going off the drone, and then I will send that information to my controller in my hand, and then that controller information will be sent to the drone, and then that drone will do operations, and then it will send that information. Then we have a positive feedback loop where we're seeing what's going on, correct? So there you go. That's how drones work. We just went through the entire drone system. The Max Solo here, there's a lot of stuff when it comes to radio signals, guys. I am not intelligent about. You should not follow me for that sort of information. I can give you some basic stuff, though. So there's a couple things you want to look for that I know of. I wish I knew more. So first off, some big stuff here we're looking at the gigahertz. That's the frequency that we're sending stuff out at with. The gigahertz that we're sending out, basically, this guy behind me, when I bought this guy pretty much came pre-packaged, ready to go. The problem was there were too many parts in there that I needed to take out that were not compatible with what the mission objective was that I wanted it to do. One of the issues was it had like a 2.5 or 2.1. I don't know what frequency number they use, but like it has a 2.1 gigahertz. And I was like, how the fuck how do I view this? How do I view the information on this? So basically I had to research, like, why can't my goggles see this? And I realized, because it's on it's almost like a different spectrum. It's on a different spectrum. You need to make sure you have the right spectrum goggles. You need the same receiver pretty much. They're operating on different spectrums. So you have like the 5.8 gigahertz spectrum. And then there's multiple signals within that, which it can operate within. But like a 2.8, I think it's 2.52? I don't know, guys, sorry. But, it's operating on a whole different spectrum. Which one's better? Which one's worse? From my understanding, the lower the better, because it has an easier time going through objects. So this is like the frequency, the number of like it's going through. So 5.8 gigahertz, if I can remember correctly, I've watched a couple of videos on this. This is like the number of times it's doing this per second, per minute, per an hour. I'm not too familiar with, but basically it's the number. It's that number. And so basically that's how that guy aligns with it. It tries a frequency, try to get the same resonancy, and then they connect. So the problem is if you're getting something with something else, you need to make sure you have the right kit to receive that. But for the most part, everyone uses this guy. If you're going for cheap stuff, if you're sending drones that are just single use, more often than not, they're going to be operating on the spectrum. But there is a range of signals that you can have on this spectrum, right? And that's where we get over here, the 48CH. That's channels. So it has an operation of 48 channels. And so that goes into operating. So when it comes to jamming, if the enemy wants to jam your system, they need to jam that not just the spectrum. I don't know. Maybe there are certain RAP systems that can jam the entire spectrum, but for the most part, they need to be somewhat close to that signal. Maybe I can show you guys. I'll show you guys what it's kind of like when you're close to your channel and you get that staticiness. So basically, they need to send information. They need to stop that interception. Like I said, that feedback loop of me seeing what the drone's seeing and me sending information to that drone. That signal, it needs to intercept it and jam it. So basically, they need to yell. They think of it that way. They're trying to yell. They're trying to yell at you or the drone. Yell at you so loud that you can't visibly see, or visibly hear. Think of it like kind of like that way. So think of it as yelling. The strength is yelling. Sending that signal is like a yell, pretty much. So they're blocking that. And so they're trying to be louder than you. So the objective, though, is to be somewhere else where they're not when it comes to the channels. So having 48 channels to operate on, maybe they're blocking these channels these days. They know you're operating on these channels. And you can fluctuate. You can change your systems. You can go and change what channels you're on. And you can try to get a better read, or try to make sure that you're not on the same channel they're trying to block that time. So interesting stuff. I would love to learn more. If there's anyone out there who's like a pro at this and is actually in the military and wouldn't mind like giving me like a sit down, good talk about this, I would love it. Honestly, I would love to learn more. YouTube is a fascinating resource to learn a lot, but the problem is it's like this is the cutting edge here in Ukraine right now. Everyone is at the cutting edge of this stuff. Every week, every month, there's new developments, there's new tactics, there's new innovations. This is why I call myself an amateur. Do not come to me looking for me to make amazing good stuff, but I can make something, right? So, yeah. This is the guy we're going with. There are better ones. Of course, there are better ones. There are a lot better ones. People are going to probably ask me, Ben, you should use this one. If you do, please, let me know. Why should I use another one? But this guy, it's a solid one. There are a lot cheaper ones. They're like, what is it, RT or RV something? I've used it on like on my all first drones. They're super cheap. You can get these guys in like the $30 range. So these guys can range from 30 to $100. So yeah, this is honestly, this is where you don't want to skim out. You don't want to skim out here. You don't want to skim out on your camera unless, depending on what the mission is. Yeah, you don't want to skim out on this and you don't want to skim out on your motors. There we go. Those, I would say those are the two most important things. You need a good motor and you need a good VTX. All right. Those are worthwhile investments to make. All right. So if you guys are still with me, thank you. I think that's pretty much everything. Last thing is propellers. I'm just going to pick up some propellers. I don't know enough about like the actual plastics, which propellers have the best thrust for the which sort of stuff. I just get some basic 10-inch propellers and they cost around $10, $5 maybe. It's so funny. I have a fun story. My friends, they work in the drone business in Ukraine and they went to a conference in Turkey and they're showcasing some of their drones and guess what they forgot to bring? The fucking propellers. So they have all these drones everywhere and you have them with their little stand and their little drone. That's a whole other video about the conference. I want to make a video because he showed me all the pictures and stuff from the conference and we kind of had a good laugh because some of it was so ludicrous and stupid. But it was like the people that are in Ukraine, they're doing all this and this drone that's like very effective, but for one part they forgot fucking propellers. So they were running around town for like a day trying to find propellers at some drone hobby shop to slap on there. But yeah, that's it, guys. That's the first part of this video. Thanks for here. Second part of the video is when I get all the bits. And actually, no, we're not done. We need to do the math. All right, let's do the math. All right, so first item on the list is 1320. 1,000. Let me bring up my calculator too. Boop, boop, boom. Boop. You gonna work that? Okay, cool. Plus. Whoa, hey, that's definitely not right. Da da da. Cool. Plus. You might be asking, Ben, why don't you just help check out? One of the reasons is because all these guys are separate orders. That is the one big downside. I guess I could talk about that. What is the downside of Prom? Prom is because we're ordering from all these separate vendors, it doesn't put them all in one like order. These are all separate orders. So if you see here, oformate zamówienia, that is to formalize this order. So I have to formalize each order. And then, yet again, each one also might have different payment methods. For the most part, I can use a Visa. I do use my Ukrainian cards here. Some of my US cards don't work. It's safe in that regard. You can use, you see here we have GPay and all this stuff. And so basically, yeah, you're going to individual, and that's the one sad thing too, is like if Amazon, like it all gets bundled up kind of together. Here, I'm going to get like 6 separate orders. Sometimes it's good to order from the same vendor, even if like the prices aren't like the cheapest. If they're within good range, you might want to just order from the same vendor just so it can all be packaged together so you don't have to go to the post office to pick up each time. And of course there is, you know, the fee of picking up the post office. So let me show you guys that too. Also, before I get down my rabbit hole, another rabbit hole. Here's the price point. So we have 594, and so I'm just going to do a simple conversion. I think the market right now it's around 41, a little higher than 41, so I'm just going to do 41. That's 575 bucks. My drone that's going to carry a big borscht container. A 10-inch drone carries a big thing of borscht. You're going to have a nice liter of borscht. All right, that's a nice liter canister of borscht you're going to carry for 575 bucks. Are you scared? You should be. Yeah, it's scary, guys. This is kind of scary. I don't like this. I don't like this. It's not good. It's not good for the world. It's going to be concerning. And also, a tangent and end of video tangent. Let's say this. Let me just show you real quick the formalization of. Let's say if I want to order something. Right, so when it comes to submitting your order, some simple stuff. Obviously, the primary way anyone communicates in Ukraine is through your phone number. It's not through addresses. If you think in the US, we would have like, oh, you need a shipping address. That doesn't work in Ukraine. It kind of can, but honestly, it's always best. It's like everything's done through your phone, pretty much. There's DIA, your government IDs, all this stuff is tied to your phone. So in one hand, it's great. On the other hand, it's horrible if you lose your phone and you have to change numbers. But yeah, your number is your primary thing. Dostavka means delivery. How are they going to deliver this? Nova Poshta, like I said, Nova Poshta is the best. I love Nova Poshta. I can't think of anything bad to say about Nova Poshta. They're like the most modern postal system ever, and they are doing a lot of good for Ukraine. Ukraine would be in a lot worse shape if there wasn't Nova Poshta and the military and everyone else had to fucking rely on like Ukroposhta. All right, so. And then the Russians would probably be at the Dnipro, all right? it would not be good. So yeah, Nova Poshta here. And so basically, I'm just going to put in which Nova Poshta I want to pick it up at. And then from there, usually the fee for a delivery, it's around $1.50, $1.50. No problem. It's super fast. It's stupid fast. Like once they send it out, it usually takes a day. So I'm probably going to get this within 3 days or so. Payment method, all this stuff. And then, of course, I could do my payment stuff. So, one last thing on payment, interesting cultural fact thing in Ukraine. When you place an order, no matter where, anywhere online, they will give you a call. They will give you a call after you place your order, confirming your order. Not, in the US, we just, like, give me an email saying, yeah, sure, the order's through. In Ukraine, no, they call you every time. I'm going to get 6 phone calls. Once I put this through, I'm going to get 6 phone calls, and each of them are going to tell me when they're going to have their package ready for delivery. That's just some interesting cultural tidbit here. Ukrainians are really big on, like, kind of like, get it fast, get it now, kind of. It's almost like, you think of like Americans, like, I want it now, but like in Ukraine, sometimes we're like, sometimes there's like this hypertension of wait along, and then hypertension of like, oh, wait, where is it? We got it. And like, everyone gets super stressed out sometimes. I'm like, all right, I'll get my order. I'm in the US, man. I know like Amazon's fast, but like, I don't, sometimes it takes a while, but here they're always going to call you. They're always going to be like, hey, your order's going to be here. Your order's going to be this time. Thank you very much for your patronage or whatever. Super cool. And of course, it's good practice for Ukrainian too. After a while, you kind of spend more time and you're like, oh yeah, you get to practice some words, just telling you're a foreigner, and you're like, okay, thank you. When is it going to be in? Okay, cool. All right, guys, I'm going to have a rant about drones and the pricing on drones. It's going to be a separate video. I'm already too late into this video. Thank you guys for sticking around. This is part 1. Part 2 is going to be when I pick up all my parts and I'm going to assemble my drone and show you guys how I make a drone in my shop. All right. Thank you guys for supporting me, supporting Ukraine. Stay safe out there.